Slay the Princess on the surface appears to be a very simple game where
you're on a path in the woods,
and your ultimate goal is to, well, slay the princess. Of course, there are many options which you can take, most of which either lead to the death of the princess or yours. And that seems to be it. There is nothing else you can do. You cannot escape, as you will always be brought back to the cabin where the princess is being held, and the game continues as such. However, as simple as that may sound, simple is the last word you can use to describe this game. Beyond the simple objective lies a world of infinity, circling two deities and the narrator. A world of nothing and yet everything. A world of life and death. A world of stagnation and change. For some, it may even bring fears of existential dread. What is this game about? What does it mean? And more importantly, what is the story trying to tell us? Well, in this video, I will attempt to paint the narrative that is being told within the game of Slay the Princess. But before we begin, please make sure to like and subscribe, and if you're a fan of the game, comment below what your favorite route is. We never truly see the beginning of everything, but the narrator states that a being once lived long ago, although presumably powerful, was not immortal, as his life too was coming to an end. But miraculously, he created a god, a single god, one which is infinite and embodies everything. Both creation and destruction, life and death, the very constructs of reality. This was not done randomly, but rather the being had a plan. What if he split the god into two distinct beings, each exemplifying the opposite of another? One god would be stagnation, tranquility, preservation, while the other god exemplifies the constant change of the world, and as such, death. What if he had the god of stagnation kill the god of change? Would death cease? Would he be able to live forever without fearing death anymore? Unfortunately for the being, he does not get to see the end result, as his life does come to an end, but he is not gone forever, at least not immediately. Echoes reverberate throughout the infinity, each distinct and unique, however each echoing the will of the being they had been born from. This leads to the origin of the first of the three only characters present within the visible world of the game. This leads to the birth of the narrator. The narrator is just that, a narrator. He has no life, he has no presence, he is merely a mouthpiece for the being that once was. As such, he maintains the bias and the will of the being, even if there is no real apparent benefit for himself. Each world visited is unique, and each has their own narrator that will abide by the task set out for him. His job is to convince you, yes, you, the player character, to slay the princess in order to successfully complete his goal. And he will attempt to do this at any cost. He will lie to you, omit necessary information, and in some cases will even force your character to complete the task against your will. If he fails at this task, and that reality comes to an end, the narrator of that world will also cease to exist. The narrator, much like the being, also has a fear for his demise, and even faces existential dread when lamenting that another version of him died, or that eventually the echoes will subside. Last thing to note from the narrator, since he is a remnant of the being, and his appearance is bird-like, may shed light as to the possible appearance of the being. The second character to note within the game is the princess, more accurately called the Shifting Mound. The Shifting Mound is one fractured piece of the original god and is the representation of change. The appearance of the Shifting Mound is fluid and will change depending on how the Shifting Mound is viewed by another person. That is why the narrator tells you that she is a princess, and your belief that she is a princess is why she always initially appears to be a princess without fail. Depending on your interactions with her throughout the game, your perception of her changes, and as such, when you see her in the next life, she will change and become more and more of whatever your perception of her is. If you see her as a dainty and caring princess, within the next life she will change to be even daintier and more caring. If you see her as scary, within the next life she will change to be a terrifying monster. If you see her as a ferocious individual, she will change to be a predator. The extremes are also possible, as if you see her to be a god, then she will change to become an all-powerful god, which is why the narrator lies to you and forces your perception of her as a princess. However, the opposite is also true. If you believe you have killed an ordinary princess and she is dead, then she will change and cease to exist. Of course, wherever there is change, there is birth. Wherever there is birth, there is growth, and wherever there is growth, there is eventual death. And a world of only change that is constantly changing without stretches of time for appreciation is not a world of value. That is the role of the second half of the original god. You, the player, are a god, a deity. You represent stagnation and preservation. Not only that, you are the reason that the shifting mound has any presence and ability to change at all, as you are the only one capable of perceiving her. You are called the Long Quiet. And although it may not seem like it, you are the main representation of the world within the game. Everything that is happening inside your presence. The character you play appears to be bird-like, and we know he has feathers. And when you look out into the world, as well as into the nothingness, you see feathers. The story not only revolves around you, but is literally changed by you, by your perceptions, by your actions, and depending on the actions you take at the end of the game, by your emotions. The being, and in turn the narrator, have hope in you, as to them you are their savior. If you were the only deity, change would stop, and as such, death would stop, which means they can live. But if there was no change, and if everything always stayed the same, as if life was saved within a time capsule, does life have any meaning at all? That is the philosophical question the game asks. To the narrator, no change is his ideal situation. To the shifting mound, change is all there is to life. But what is it to you? That is the question you try to answer as you play the game. When you put all the pieces together, the story follows as such. A being long ago feared his ultimate demise, and as such he created a single god. He then split the god into two beings. The Long Quiet, which represents stagnation, and the shifting mound, which represents change. The being dies, and his will echoes throughout infinity, manifesting into the narrator, which is unique within every single world, while the split gods are present throughout them all. The narrator tries to fulfill the plan bestowed to him and have the Long Quiet kill off the shifting mound by having him perceive the shifting mound to be a weak and defenseless princess and himself as a strong hero. Killing off the shifting mound would end change and in turn end death, thereby succeeding in the original being's plan. How the game proceeds depends upon your specific actions, but what is true within all endings is that although the Long Quiet and the shifting mound appear to be diametrically opposed, they are inextricably linked, as they were once the same being. And as such, each contains an aspect that the other is drawn to. This manifests into love. But not the type of love that any mortal can understand, because this type of love is beyond mortal comprehension. It is transcendent, due to them once being the same person. There is so much more we can discuss about the depth of their connections and the meaning of each ending of the game, but it has less to do with the explanation for the story. Plus, I want to dedicate that topic to a future video of if we can find an objective answer to which ending is truly the best ending. But that is the explanation of the characters and the story of Slay the Princess. For now, that is all I have for you today. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe, as that would mean a lot to me. And comment below what you thought of my assessment, as I'd love to hear it. With all that out the way, I hope y'all have a great day, and peace out.